Do I have a motion to go into open?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Burton, second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are in open. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We were in closed session, executive session for about approximately 40 minutes for the reasons of student matters / attorney-client privilege, pardon me. And now we'll start with our first public participation portion of the evening tonight. And you would like to come forward, state your name, address, and this is for agenda items only. So if you have anything you'd like to speak on concerning the agenda, please, you'll have 3 minutes to make your comment.
Jacob Harrison.
So Jared, it went off somehow or another. This, right? All of them? Your mic. Try it, but it went off.
Just lean.
There is a, yeah, it's in.
It's on. Just speak a
You have to
little
lean
louder.
in. Or pull it closer to you.
Yeah, pull the mic closer to you.
Jacob Harrison. Jason.
Good evening.
On policy. Item.
Explain number 3.
Jake, this is a second reading. It was
Excuse me,
introduced.
Mr. God. Would you say?
Jake, this is a second reading of a policy that was introduced at the last meeting. And if you look at the attachments of the handouts, you will have a highlighted area that tells you the change. If there's an addition, if there's anything that's deleted, it would tell you. So if you can just go back to the policy, and if you see it highlighted in yellow, that would be the change.
The viewers of the Board of Ed don't know.
Okay.
So would you please explain?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, Jake, just to answer your question on policy 9200 orientation and training of board members, it's big. Well, it talks about the training and orientation of board members, but there was some language that was added, and the language that was added, which is highlighted in yellow, like Mr. Burrito said, basically states that within 1 year of being elected or appointed to the board, we have, as board members, have to complete a training program on harassment, intimidation, and bullying in schools, including the school district's responsibilities as required by a couple of New Jersey laws. And but it says we only have to complete the program once. So basically, Mrs. Backer's going to, I believe, speak on that later in this meeting, and about harassment, like HIB it's called, that's the acronym for it. And so it just gives us, well, it gives our board members, I'm a teacher, so I've been trained with it as well, but as Mr. Sekou has as well. But just to give the board members a view of, what the administration goes through and what the students are also exposed to as well concerning bullying. And then the other thing that was added was if there's ever a delegate assembly for school boards associations, up to 4 members can attend, but not 5, because obviously that's a quorum. So that's basically the second reading of this file, this policy 9200. Thank you. Seeing there's no one else, we'll close the first public participation portion of the evening tonight, and we will now go on to the committee reports. Does anyone have a committee report they'd like to speak on?
Yes, I attended the middle school PTA meeting. They have a lot of activities coming up, holiday festivities. And most of you know about the bonfire. The wind died down just before we lit the fire. We're getting a little better, lighting the fire, but it was well attended. We had a good time. And we all celebrated a nice win on Thursday with 7-6 win, so that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Signorello. Anyone else? Seeing there's none, now we'll go on to the principal's report. Mrs. Costa, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the high school. So good to have you here. I don't know if you had the opportunity to take a walk through the halls before you came into the board meeting, but there are about as many students in the high school right now as there are during the day. So we have over 50 students auditioning tonight for the musical, Beauty and the Beast. We have rec wrestling and regular wrestling going on down the hall. We have a band parents meeting going on. We have a crew meeting for the musical going on. And the bowling team just came off the bus. So it's really a busy place all the time. In just a few minutes, you're going to hear from Ms. Resney and this wonderful group of students that was with us this summer at the high school. But before that, I just want to tell you a little bit about this special week at the high school. This is the week, it's a national week, it's the Hour of Code. I don't know if any of you have heard about that, but we are on an initiative at the high school for 100% participation in Hour of Code by the teachers and the students. So our new media center specialist, Jennifer Lemke, has been very active in the classrooms. We have introduced, how many of you have done anything with coding this week in any of your classes? Well, it's coming. So she has been in everything from the Algebra 1 classes where they designed games where they flew a bird through a maze of pipes, to the Advanced English 1 honors class where they put together coding on Scratch, where they did a scene from Romeo and Juliet on Scratch. So earth science classes have created volcanoes that erupt in Scratch, and so we are really embracing computer science and the Hour of Code here at the high school. So it's a really fun week at the high school. It's a very busy week. And we have so many talented students here. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our talented students led by our teacher, Miss Resney, with the architecture program. It's going to be on the... It is going to be on the screen, so I'm going to just let them get it going, and then Miss Resney will take the mic and introduce what they did over the summer.
Nicole. All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us, and these great students tonight are going to present to you a little bit of what they've been working on since the beginning of July. We had been spoken about in reference to starting to design a STEM wing for the school, and obviously not adding a full wing, but more or less renovating a section of the school and reappropriating classrooms to start this STEM adjustment to the high school, where you can start organizing classrooms in a way where subjects are in the same hallway, energy is feeding off of each other, teachers who are in subjects that are similar are near each other, so there could be a lot of like co-teaching opportunities and so on. So the students over the summer for 3 weeks, we were here every day from around 8 to 3, and they worked on a proposal for you guys, and they're going to present that to you today. We did everything from research. We went and visited other schools. We conducted case studies, and we put a full proposal together while talking to engineers, contractors, and so on. So they'll share more. And if you have any questions at the end, they will be more than happy to answer. Excuse the mic. I don't know. I think that might be better. It's a little distracting. Good evening, hello. My name is Nicole Badillo. I helped with the STEMing along with all my classmates sitting next to you. So we consisted of 4 teams to make 4 different rooms in the new STEM wing. So these are the teams. I'm not going to read them off because there's a lot of them and it'll be forever. So STEAM is science, technology, architecture, art, and math. Art and math. Why will STEAM benefit West Park High School? Technology is growing and there's nothing we can do about it. So with STEAM, this really helps our school just grow into the new era of technology. STEAM is going to accomplish the merging of engineering and the arts, everything else around the school that is also growing. And it's going to help all the students with group-based learning, helping them interact better with each other. We did some case studies, so we went to different locations around New Jersey just to learn about what other schools have done with STEAM wings. We went to Livingston High School, which just newly renovated their STEAM wing. We also just got a nice tour of learning about everything that they've done, just how they built everything, and it was just pretty awesome to see the different ways that they built stuff. The pros and cons that really kind of helped us throughout the trip. The pros were, it was just access to everything. You all had all the rooms had access in one way. So all of them were together, they can learn together, group-based, class-based learning, not even group-based anymore. Classes could come together. There was a big technology area, lots of storage. One cool thing for the woodshop room is that there were extension cords from the ceiling to help with hazards so that they weren't running along the floor, so kids couldn't trip, especially with machinery that's a big hazard. Large windows and lots of lights. The cons where it was just very noisy. You can see that it just wasn't thought through that maybe you could throw a carpet here or there or just a square on the wall to just diffuse the sound. The floor plan was a donut shape, so it was just really a circle. So if you went in one room, you went out the other, and you just kept going back. It wasn't really thought out well that everyone could use it. Unnecessarily large spaces, which we would kill for heat at Russell Park, but they had a lot of it, so we wanted to take some of theirs, but we couldn't. It was disjointed, and it was just really kind of focused on engineering, which was good for one room, but not for the woodshop and architectural rooms. This is the proposed floor plan that Ms. Resney had proposed to you guys a while ago. I believe it was in the summer of the beginning, the spring. But we newly renovated it to be this. This is the renovated floor plan that we have come up with, the students. As you can see, there's 3 different rooms, and I'll go on to explain the rest of them. This is the architecture and interior design floor, room, and under these are just little renders, just kind of like snippets of what the room would really look like 3D. This is the computer science renders, also another one. And the industrial and engineering renders. So the 3 different classrooms that the 3 different teachers would be teaching in. Now I'm going to pass it on to Ray.
Hello guys, in case you didn't know, I'm Ray Rocha. I worked on the floor plans and all the technical drawings as well as some of my students for this new renovation. And to start off, this is the as-built. So if you look down, you can see in Mr. Rigucci's current woodshop room in the top left, he has a finishing room, then that big open spaces where his machines are, and those are his 2 closets. The smaller room on the bottom is his existing office, and then that big room in the middle is another closet. Then right next to that is Mr. Chin's room, with also another closet. And then the room over to the right is Miss Burke's current English room. And with the pictures on the bottom, you're going to see it's really bland. There's nothing standing out about it. There's no like spark giving the students any motive to do work. It's just an existing classroom. So this is the demolition plan on top. This is just showing all the outlets to be removed, all the walls being removed. So if we're gonna start from the left, you can see all those, like on the screen at least, it's like kind of like little dots, but if you see on the paper, they're like little circles with lines through them. Those are just showing the outlets being removed, how in the room itself, it's a lot of outlets popping out of the ground. It's really hazardous. Kids are plugging in tools, they can trip on it and whatnot. Now in Mr. Chin's room, so the middle room, the wall to the left of it, where Mr. Iguchi's like middle closet is, that wall's going to be removed. That's a CMU wall, so that's going to be like the most expensive, but everything else is sheetrock, I believe, so that's really easy to do. Just take a sledgehammer to it. And on the bottom is the reflected ceiling demolition plan. This is just showing that existing lighting is to be removed, and all the ceiling panels to be removed. It's worn down, it's old, it's been there since like the 70s. It just has to be updated. There's too much dirt and grime going on up there. This is the proposed floor plan. So again, going from the left, we see Mr. Iguchi's room transformed to being like two different sections. So on the right-hand side of his room, those would be like standard desks. So that space would be used for the technicality and the creative thinking. And then to the left would be the industrial part where they can go hands-on, set up on those two desks, and then use the machinery. In the middle room, Mr. Chin's current room, which would be Ms. Resni's room, our desk set up, and since that CMU wall was knocked down, we opened that space up to be her like, what's her room? The sample room. So upstairs, if you've ever been there, she has a little closet. It has a bunch of samples of different woods, carpets, and whatnot. And we would just transform that side of that room to be her sample room. And on the right would be Mr. Seibert's room. And that's, we just put 3 large rectangular tables because we would be using a lot of laptops or computers and a robotics field in the top right. And then in the bottom right is just 4 straight computers so we can do video game designing and high-tech. Those would be like the high-tech computers for the very difficult project. And then on the bottom of the page, it's just, the best way to describe it, it's the wing, if you were just slice it in half and look at it like the Barbie house. From the left on the top one, oh my god. The left on the top one, I think, is starting in Mr. Seibert's room, and we're going straight across to this would be Mr. Chin's room, and vice versa. So on the bottom, on the left would be Mr. Chin's room, going all the way to the right to Mr. Seibert. This is the proposed reflected ceiling plan. This is showing the new panels to be placed in, new lighting, how they're different they're all same direction on that. When we went to, I think it was Livingston High School, we saw that they were describing in lighting that the closer the lights were basically to the window, the less lighting they would produce, and the further they are away from the window, the more lighting they would produce. So it would detect the amount of sunlight they would take in and reduce that. And I think they said they reduced their electricity bill by like 25%. So that'd be a huge benefit for this. And this is the proposed electrical floor plan on top. Again, going left to right, we see that a lot of the outlets are right next to the new machinery being put in, and a lot of it would be coming down from the ceiling. We also saw that at Livingston High School, where they had like outlets, it looked like hoses almost, but it was just like extension cables wheeling down for the outlets, and they can plug the machinery right there. And it would basically be like that throughout the whole thing, except for the right of Mr. Chin's room and Ms. Resni's room and Mr. Seibert's room. It would all be underneath the center of all the desks, so all the computers can go right there and no wires would be exposed. And then on the bottom is the proposed mechanical floor plan. So, I don't know if you can see, oh you can. So the single hatch ones, so those 2 right ones, those are to be removed. The just plain ones are staying, and the double hatch ones, so the really dark ones up top, are going to be added on, I'm sorry. Those are going to be the new mechanical added on, because all the machinery will now be over there, and we don't want all the dust collecting, so we just suck up all the dust. That's it, right? And these are just still some memories of Mr. Chin's, would-be Mr. Chin's room, and how we have a lot of glass going through it, so it's not like the teacher can't see what's going on in the other half. The teacher has the ability to monitor what's going on at all times in the class. And then this is also a few renderings of Mr. Seibert's 2B room. A lot of it's laptop based, and we have the creative spark in the room where the robotics and tech kids can go and do their thing, and the four computers in the back for video game design and things like that. And this is Ms. Rezzi's room, a few renders. The top left picture, you see 2 cork boards. A lot of the time we do presentations on the cork boards, and we have a lot of papers to present, and it's so much easier to put the papers on there and talk about it. And we put the kids in pods, because architecture is a lot of thinking, and you want opinions from different people. It's great to brainstorm off that. That's it.
So that concludes the presentation side of this. As you can see, a lot of this was a lot of hard work, and all of these drawings, I would just like to give the disclaimer, were done by the students. All of the renders were done by the students, all the floor plans, mechanical, electrical drawings, every piece of it done by the students. There was a physical model too that was done. It got a little damaged in the beginning of the year, and it didn't do the project justice, so we just left that out today. But yes, everything was done by them, and one of the key things I did want to point out is just the visibility in between classrooms. So if you can see at the top left hand, there's big windows in between each room. So it gives, in the middle room, the architecture room would have visibility to the engineering room and the computer science room, and vice versa. So it really starts to create that group work, co-teaching, everybody's kind of working on the same page. We can switch students throughout the day if one student's stuck and needs a second opinion. It really opens us up for a lot of that, whereas right now, we're all on separate floors, so that makes it a little difficult. Separate floors and separate sides of the building. So to send kids back and forth with models and things like that becomes a disaster. So yeah, that's it. I guess I turn it back over to Ms. Costello. Yes.
Just let everybody know that this is not just for any one specific group. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
I just want to
Do you want me to touch on it?
Oh. Just to follow up on this a little bit more, a lot of times I'm asked what's the usage of the space. So you're looking at 4 distinct learning areas. It's 3 classrooms, but you have 4 learning areas. We are not looking to get rid of any of the programs that we have. So woodshop right now, we have about 42 students enrolled in woodshop. That would not change. The machine, everything that we need to conduct woodshop is there. But because of the way that the space is being used, we can also continue to have Mr. Chin's classes, upwards of 25 students in the next space over. Ms. Rezzi's classes right now top out at 24 each. She teaches 6 periods a day as part of her normal teaching load, and she has full enrollment in all 6 of those periods. Plus Angelina and Jameson both teach an additional 0 period class, so they teach 7 periods a day. This room would be used in 3 and 4 of the spaces, period 0 all the way through period 8. So it is used constantly throughout the day. And then after school, we have the robotics club that will be in there, as well as there's quite a few other clubs that come off after school, but that robotics room, they're here usually until 6:30 every night during the robotics season. So this room would get continual use. And the great thing, I just want to thank the board again for the media center renovation. We started with the renovation of the media center. We are getting the furniture in, it's just started to come in, and we hope to have the furniture put together in the space ready to be in use by 2nd semester. And it's just remarkable to see what the students did 2 summers ago now coming to fruition with the media center space. The maker space is going to be incredible in that media center. I was at a Future Ready Schools meeting this morning with a lot of other schools represented, and one of the big things that they spoke about was, how are you doing group work? How are you doing project-based learning? How are you modeling your school so that students are able to work collaboratively? And this and the media center fit right into future-ready schools. So we are way ahead when they talked about coding, and we were one of the few districts that already offers AP computer science principles. So we're very far ahead for such a very small school. And then finally, we don't want to stop. So we are so excited about this. As Angelina said, this brings the STEAM all together in one spot. It allows us to use our technology more efficiently. They're not running up and down the steps using different printers on different floors. But then it also allows us to continue our vision, which is to hopefully soon get a weight room into the school. Our athletics have come so far this year with the varsity gym and the revamping of the phys ed program. And now to be able to use that space more wisely will allow us to continue to use space more efficiently throughout the building, because my next goal is to get that weight room in our school so that we can have athletes that are bigger, faster, stronger, because you just don't grow them. You need to condition athletes to be able to be competitive in this day and age in athletics. So thank you again. I think your vision and our vision is my vision, and our students' vision is your vision, so I can't thank you enough for the support that you've given the high school. And I know our students and our teachers will make you very proud in this new space. Thank you.
Mrs. Costa, Mrs. Resnick, and students, thank you very much. And both of you said exactly what is happening around the state. This will revolutionize instruction here at Ozone Park, because it will bring collaborative learning, which is so important for future learning and 21st century learning. So thank you very much for your projects. And I think Mr. Harms, back I believe in August, in September, we spoke about it, and we're doing everything that we can. The board is doing everything to support this project and make it come to reality. So thank you very much, Mrs. Costa, and the administrators and Ms. Retzky for the leadership, and students for your motivation. Thank you so much for the dedication. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again. I know the presentation we had back in, I guess 2 months ago, I guess it was, upstairs. And I was totally impressed. Again, I'm impressed for the work we did. We've taken their drawings and their concept, and we've given to an engineering firm to work out what the cost is going to be. So that's coming. Again, we're going to get it. Okay. I know I promised you we'd have it by September. I'm pushing it. Don't be mad at me if we don't get it by September, but we're going to try our darndest to do that. But I didn't realize that it takes some time to get some things done, especially this magnitude right here. So we're going to get it. We're going to get it. Okay? Thank you again. I'm totally impressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harms. Thank you, Mr. Buda. And boys and girls also, Nicole Ray, fine job presenting, by the way. That was very good. And everyone who came out tonight, thank you for taking some of your precious time to come out and come to a board meeting. But it was a lot of great information that you guys have given us. And I mean, project-based learning, I mean, this is problem-based learning, project-based learning, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's a great example. And just the challenge that you guys went through and just all the steps, it reminds me of, the teaching and facilitating of like the scientific process in my classroom. But just the way you went out and investigated the problem, you went to Linux in high school, that's fantastic. You collected data, you looked at the pros, you looked at the cons, and you had a first plan, and then you took that plan and you modified it, and you came up with a second plan. So it was a real fluid activity. So you guys really were being flexible and open-minded. And Ray, one thing you said about the open spaces for class-based learning, and that's music to my ears, especially in the day and age now of iPads and earbuds and everyone's so isolated. But to have that kind of class-based learning where everyone gets together and sees what someone else is doing, and like what Mr. Harm said too, it's like, a lot of kids are going to get a taste of that new wing, and what you guys are like pioneers for them, and you're going to motivate them. You're going to motivate those freshmen. You're going to motivate the 8th graders and 7th graders out of middle school, and they come out and say, oh man, I want to be as cool as as those guys as well. And I want to learn and be a part of the STEAM initiative. So, you know, what you're doing now, I mean, you guys have, I mean, it's going to be amazing. And I'm just very, very, very proud of it. And it's just a reflection of Ms. Resni's leadership, which starts with Mrs. Costa, Mr. Foy, Mrs. Backert as well. But Mrs. Resni, I mean, what you've done, you're like a referee in a game. If you don't notice a referee, you know she's doing a good job. And I think you're doing a great job of just facilitating and fostering an active learning environment where the kids are empowered to have a say and to guide their education and their education of the younger kids. I mean, Ray, when Christian comes up, I mean, he's hopefully going to be a part of that as well too. And you know, it's just something special. And what's really special is when you guys get as old as us, you're going to come back and you're going to say, hopefully, I mean, whatever family you have or may have, you say, hey, I did that. And you know, that's going to be a feather in your cap. So, you know, thank you to all, and I'm just very proud of you guys. And you gave us a good holiday present with this, and it's just a reflection of just how well and how proud we are of you guys at the high school. So keep up the good work, and we're looking forward to get this done, like Mr. Arms said. So thanks again, guys. And before we have, we do have a superintendent's report, and Mr. Dorito, would you do your superintendent report now?
Thank you, Mr. Miller. I would like to begin. They have homework to do, Mrs. Costa. Plenty of homework and reading to do, and architectural homework and all that. Guys, have a good night, and thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Thank you. Great job. Great job. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming back, graduates. The graduates came back.
Oh, the graduates are here. That's great. Good job, everyone.
Sorry, some of them had to try out for musical.
They have to, yeah. They have a lot of homework to do as well. I can understand that. Well, Mrs. Backer can have an empty auditorium. Mrs. Backer is here to give her semi-annual report on the harassment, intimidation, and bullying, the HIP investigations, training, and programs, which is required by the anti-bullying laws of 2012. So, Mrs. Backer, if you could just report that to the board. Thank you.
You should use one of those, so.
Thank you. Oh, I can only go, all right, we're getting up close now. Okay, thank you. Just as a reminder, I'm Ellen Backert, I'm the assistant principal here at the high school, as well as the anti-bullying coordinator for the district. I am required, as Mr. Garrido mentioned, by the New Jersey Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights to report twice a year to the board the results of some required data collection. And this report is called Harassment, Intimidation, and Bullying, Investigations, Trainings, and Programs. So for the period of last year, from January 1 to June 30th, I have to report how many HIB investigations we did and how many were determined to be actual bullying. These are all cases that you reviewed at your Board of Education meeting, so really this is just a recap of what you've already should have been familiar with. So during that time frame, we had a total of 22 investigations, and that's for all 5 of our buildings, including the academy. Out of those 22 investigations, 16 were determined to be HIB, or harassment, intimidation, or bullying. Those investigations were led by our anti-bullying specialist. The law requires that each of our buildings have an anti-bullying specialist who, in conjunction with the principal, initiates and conducts the investigations. So those people are at the high school, Andrea Cosadoy, Kathy Pons at the middle school, Allison Canarak at Robert Gordon, Jamie Halperin at Sherman, and Nancy Aravzino, who was at Aldine at the time. They do an excellent job. They are professional, they are discreet, they are thorough, and they work really well in their buildings to promote a climate and culture that addresses bullying and tries to prevent it before it happens. Some of the disciplines that were imposed during the course of these HIB confirmed cases, where most of the time we like to use it as an educational purpose. We try to educate the students on their behavior, on bullying, how they can handle situations differently in the future. We try not to make it punitive unless the situation really warrants it, because most of the time it's a one offender and they learn from their experiences and they move on to not do it again. So some of the things are bullying, education, parent conferences, student conferences. Sometimes it's suspension of privileges, maybe on the elementary school, not going out to recess for a day or two. At the high school, it could be a detention, it could be a Saturday school, in-school suspension, or in a rare case, out-of-school suspension, detentions as well. We also try to remediate instead of making it punitive by being proactive. We have a big push for our teachers to monitor student interactions so they can be aware. We monitor our hallways and our stairwells, especially at the high school. That's where we're mindful of, and we do appreciate the cameras that you've supported several years ago, which have helped tremendously with that. If there's situations that require scheduling changes, if students can't coexist in a classroom, limiting interactions, individual counseling, parent conferences, we try to get them involved with extracurricular activities because sometimes we just need to redirect some of their energy and their focuses. We're also required to have training for all staff, including the Board of Education members, so I was very happy to hear that Mr. Miller addressed that, because in my reports I have to identify specifically which groups are getting training on HIB, and Board of Education members are one of them, which we need to do in order to be compliant with the law. So we do trainings, intervention and prevention. There's a huge push this year. I was at a conference yesterday on climate and culture in schools. If you create a positive culture, then the hope is that the HIV incidence will go down as we address climate and culture. Diversity awareness, not just with students, between students and staff, conflict management with students, and of course suicide prevention and training. Last year, all the schools do all their own programs. They do character education, they do all kinds of bullying awareness and prevention and assemblies. But last year we decided to do a district initiative that worked out really well, I'm very proud of. It was called Start With Hello, and it was really initiated by the Sandy Hook Promise Project. And so all the schools adapted it, we talked about it at our meetings. But I allowed each school to really interpret it as they saw fit for each individual building, because one size does not fit all. So some of the things they did were video contests at the middle school, and posters and displays, Be Someone's Hero Day, No One Eats Alone at Lunch Day, Mix It Up at Lunch. At the high school, since we're here, I'm going to talk about the initiative, how we handled it, which I was so proud of, our staff and students. Our goal was to make sure that we only have 600 students. We're a very small high school, and I'm so proud of that. And which means we can do a lot, and we know a lot of our students, but even with 600 students, some still possibly might fall through the cracks, and that's something that is not acceptable to us. So we did a survey of all our students and asked them to list 3 teachers that they feel comfortable with. Somebody, and it could be anybody from one of the custodians to a lunch person to Mrs. Costa, any coach, any adult in the building that they felt that they could go to if they needed somebody to talk to, or somebody safe, or just something that they know they felt they had a connection with. So we surveyed every single student, all 600 plus. We got those results, and we went through the painstaking task of matching up a student with hopefully their number 1 choice. But we also had to balance that with making sure that no particular teacher had 50 students and somebody had just 1 or 2. So we had to really balance that out. And then we ordered postcards with the high school picture on it. And we had every single teacher at a faculty meeting write a postcard, a personal postcard, to the students that identified that teacher. And they were asked to write a postcard and make it personal, not just like, hey, you're a great kid, thanks for choosing me, but to write something personal, like, hey, I noticed that in my class you're just a really good leader and I appreciate that, or I saw your basketball game and that was a great shot last week. Whatever they could do to personalize that note for that student, because that student identified that teacher as being special. And so then we had RPTV create a video about reaching out, being friendly, don't let somebody you see in the hallway who looks a little sad, maybe just say hi to them or in the lunchroom. And then we played that video, and at the exact same time, every single teacher gave the student in their homerooms, because it wasn't that teacher, in their homeroom, gave the students a postcard from their chosen teacher. So every single 600 kids all got their postcards at the same time and read them. And the impact on that was really tremendous. The teachers got some positive feedback, the students loved it, we got feedback from parents. We even made sure that our students on home instruction got their postcards, students at VOTEC got their postcards, and there was not one student that fell through the crack with that initiative. And I thought that was just indicative of how we operate here at Roseville Park High School. We want every student to feel safe and comfortable and supported, and I think that initiative went a long way to doing that. So we have a few things up our sleeve for this year, which I'll report to you in a couple of months. I'll be back, and that's what I have to say. So any questions about our HIV programs here at the high school, or any of the requirements that we have? Thank you. And I know I'm going off topic, but I want to congratulate our students, but I just want to say that with Mrs. Costa's vision, which is incredible, and your support, I am so excited to work at this high school and in this district, and I'm excited to see where we're going to go. So thank you for your support.
Thank you, Mrs. Backer, and thank you for all the hard work that you do as the coordinator of the HIB as well. Just to follow up on Mrs. Backer's report, I think she made a very good point when she spoke about culture and climate in the schools, and that's definitely what changes the attitude of students. And just to report, and I'm very happy to report, I always give a tally in January of the number of incidents that we've had from September to December, and it has really dropped, okay? More actual incidents that are considered conflicts instead of HIBs, and that is just a testament of the work that our anti-bullying coordinator and obviously our staff does here in terms of creating a positive culture and climate, and it's in all the buildings. You walk into the buildings, you have the right message for students to follow, you know, to be courteous to each other, to be kind, and I think that's a great step. And Ms. Backer, for the past 3 years that you've been the coordinator, we've really seen a lot of improvements, so thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, now just to give my report, it's actually not that long. We are going through our QSAC monitoring, which is a 3-year monitoring, and QSAC stands for the New Jersey Quality Single Accountability Continuum. The only problem I see is that they're still using the same tool from 3 years ago, meaning that they're using test scores from 4 years ago. We as a committee, we put together, we're required to put together a committee and give ourselves a self-assessment of the different areas which they are in: instruction and programs, fiscal management, operations, personnel, and governance. And what happens now is the county office comes in and they do an on-site visit. That is going to happen on February 27th, and they also conduct classroom visits to make sure that what we tell them on the 27th that we're doing, we actually doing it. So we had an initial meeting with the county office, our district staff went, and obviously, the scores are in for a self-assessment. And then the county comes in, and then we get a letter from the state just letting us know what the actual score is. So we will probably have a letter in June or so, just to let us know where we are. A new tool has been created by the state, but that is starting next year with the new park scores. So that's something that we are awaiting, and we are very optimistic that we will do very well. So that is happening now in the district. The school performance report is most likely will be available to the public in the next couple of weeks, and just some initial analysis that we have seen is that we are seeing growth in most of the areas and in most of the grade levels. And that's something that's new now. It used to be that there was only a target score where students were either proficient, not proficient, or advanced proficient. Now there's a second column or another area that shows student growth or district growth, and in that area we are doing very well in both language arts and math. So we're waiting for that report to come out, and then obviously I will report to the public and the board come June or May or June, whenever it's available to report. Just to comment on some community events, I attended so far 4 PTA, PTO meetings. I was at the high school not too long ago. since the start of the school year. And I've really been impressed with the attendance, with the participation, and just the general climate of these meetings. The parents have been so supportive and so positive throughout the meeting about everything that is going on here in the district and the programs, and you know, they've been very impressed with everything. Obviously, you know, there's some areas that they're a little uncomfortable. For example, the new math program at the elementary level, they're just not used to it. It's a very challenging program, and even at the second or third grade level, it is very difficult for parents because students are learning differently now that parents did, you know, years ago. So it's, again, it's something that is a change, and it's an adjustment period for the parents. But other than that, things have been very positive in terms of the discussions. I will be meeting next Monday with the town's art committee just to discuss the art programs at the school and see how we can work together to enhance the program. We have a wonderful art program, as you know. We are always publicized, and we always have students do very well and gain achievement, and we want to work together. So I'll be meeting with the art committee next Monday at 7:30. Actually, in the board office, I'll be meeting with them. Holiday concerts, they're coming up. They're always a treat, and the students do a phenomenal job because the music program, it's really great, and they do a wonderful job. Just to go over the calendar, on December 12th, the Aldine Holiday Concert is slated for 6:30 p.m. Sherman Holiday Concert is the 14th at 6:30 p.m. The middle school and high school holiday concert is December 20th at 7 p.m. in each of the buildings. So please come out, Jake, come out and get entertained with the different concerts. The kids do a wonderful job in those concerts. So that's all I have to report for tonight. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grito. And just to back up one second, Mrs. Becker, thanks again for your presentation. That was wonderful. And raising our children is a holistic effort. I mean, we went to the academics, and we talked about the sports with Mr. Signorella, and now you came up with the social emotional learning of our children through the various projects that you did. And then, I mean, that postcard project was awesome. I mean, not only for receiving the postcard, but also the beauty in giving it to with the teachers when they were writing it out of the staff meeting. I mean, that's a productive staff meeting, and I've been to many staff meetings myself. And so I just really applaud you guys for doing that, because when a child is happy, when a child feels safe, that's when that's when the conditions are optimal for them to learn. And you guys have created that, and we really appreciate it. So thank you, Ms. Becker, Mr. Foy, and Mrs. Costa.
Just a clarification on the holiday, the middle school and the high school, two separate, right? One's here and one is at the middle school.
Yes.
So I wish I had a calendar in front of me, because I'll be honest with you, it was a little confusing to me if they were together or separate. Does anyone have a calendar here?
They are separate. They're definitely separate.
They are separate, yes.
So is the calendar confusing just to me then?
I was led to believe they were together.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah,
the actual
I
calendar.
think the calendar, it says
The actual calendar.
middle school, high school.
But as long as we can get the message out that they're separate,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
separate
they
names.
do, they do
She
send out.
moved hers, and she sent the letter home.
Right.
Yeah, and
It's on
through
the website.
email too.
Okay.
Yep, they changed it. So it is separate. Thank you, Mr. Signorella. No, you weren't, because I remember, I think I saw an email.
On the calendar,
calendar.
it's confusing, right? Okay. I'm just trying to
No,
confuse
thank you for pointing that out, but I know each individual building that has it on the website.
Yeah, we
and also-
addressed it in September, but we need to address it again.
We will address it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. And now we're going to policy, the policy portion of the evening, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 1st through 12 on policy, meaning first readings for agenda items 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, second reading for agenda item 3, and adoption for items 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Mr. Signorella, second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Sekou. Are there any questions or comments? One question is for the bullying board orientation. When will that be?
Actually, we're going to be setting up the board. We have an online training that's called Safe Schools. And what we'll do is we'll set each individual board member on that training for him only, because they have several different trainings, so we'll set them up. We will notify the board, and we will have a link where you will be able to go on and take the 10-hour class. Only kidding, I think it's only about an hour, 40 minutes or something.
You better be kidding. Peter, the way the policy read was that that course has to be, they have to reappoint and re-elect you, or is it all board members have to do it now?
It's all board members have to do it, Mr. Holmes. It's a requirement now that it needs to be done.
Okay, it's confusing because, again, in the policy it says anybody.
That's coming in, but that's because it's assumed that board members have the training already, so any new board members will come up, so.
Okay.
But it's all board members need to.
I have no problem, it's just that you only have to do it once though. So.
Yeah, oh, yes.
Okay, so, because if you run next year and you're reappointed, you won't have to do it again according to the policy, correct?
Right,
As you have done it.
right.
It doesn't make it's kind of contradicting what we're saying here and what we have to do now. That's all.
I think just to set the benchmark, we all have to do it.
Sure.
Yeah.
No problem, but I just don't want to have everybody, if they get elected or reappointed or whatever, if they think they have to do it again. That's all.
Great. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Vice President Harms?
Yes.
Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Cancino?
Yes.
Mr. Gurton?
Yes.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Sekou?
Yes.
Mr. Signorella?
Yes.
Mr. Vida?
Yes.
President Miller?
Yes.
On roll call, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And now we're on to personnel, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 13 through 19. 13 being district substitutes, 14 being staff appointments, 15 being change of assignment, 16 being the Anthony Signorella Youth Center program counselor, 17 being the additional high school extracurricular advisors for the year 2017-18, and 18 being maternity leave of absence request, and 19 being sick day bank. And do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
That's Mr. Bowman, second.
I'll make it, yeah.
Mr. Burton, second, I believe. And are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, just on number 17, confirming there's no one in that role now, right?
No.
Okay. Terrific. You're good.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Vice President Harms?
Yes.
Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Cancino?
Yes.
Mr. Gurton?
Yes.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Sekou?
Yes.
Mr. Signorella?
Yes.
Mr. Vida?
Yes.
President Miller?
Yes.
On roll call, motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And now we're on to education, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 20 and 21. 20 being education program, 21 being educational trip requests. Mr. Harms, second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cancino. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
So I see TBD to be, I guess, determined. When will that be determined? I'm looking at number 20. 87 and 88, correct? And 83.
These are typically determined when there's some type of either IP meeting or evaluation, or by the doctor after the time. That's they remain there. So it's actually someone, a professional, will be making that recommendation.
So at this point, we don't know the length of time?
We don't.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those items are passed. Now we're on to business, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 22 through 29, 22 being monthly certification, 23 being monthly transfers, 24 being approval of bills, 25 being use of buildings and grounds, 26 being winter sports schedules, 27 being secretary treasurer report, 28 being approval of minutes, 29 grant acceptance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that.
Mr. Burton, second.
I'll second. I'll also be abstaining. This will be November 21st.
Thank you, Mr. Vita, so noted.
I'm going to abstain from 29.
So noted, Mr. Signorello.
I'm going to be abstaining from November 7th meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Cancino.
Mr. President, I'm going to abstain from 28A. I wasn't at that session. As well as I'm going to abstain as well from the grant. We have a full board, right? Just wanted to make sure for the grant acceptance, I will abstain.
Great. And I will be abstaining from the November 7th meeting as well. I was not in attendance then. Do I have all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those items are passed. And now we're on to continuing business. Does anyone have continuing business? Or new business?
I'll put on the new business. What I'd like to do is see if the facilities committee, I know short notice is available. Mr. Superintendent and Ms. Gershio is also Thursday at 6:30.
Can it be a little earlier, Mr. Holmes, than 6:30?
We can. I just have a wrestling match to go to with my grandson. What time would it be? Like 5:30?
5:30, is that something that?
It's better for me, because I get the town meeting.
All right, because I want to go over the pricing on the steam wing. So again, I don't want to put it off any longer. If we can get it this Thursday, it's a start.
5:30, is that okay?
5:30, that's fine with me.
Great, thank you.
And just another question, what is the procedure that we would be following if we have something to go to the personnel committee?
Raise it.
Okay. On the side, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to do it here.
Well, you can say, Mr. President, I'm bringing something to the personnel.
Oh, yeah, no, I leave it here for the agenda.
Do I have a motion to go into open?
So moved.
Mr. Harms, second, Mr. Curtin.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. We're in open, and we were in executive session for approximately 35-40 minutes. For reasons of attorney-client privilege, no action was taken. Before we call for adjournment, Mr. Vito would like to say something.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. If this is indeed our last meeting, I just wanted to take some time to say thank you to the board. It has been an honor and a privilege serving you and serving the district. I will be taking a break. If the district will have me back, I will look to rejoin you guys sometime in the near future, but it has been an honor, it has been a privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Vito. Mr. Bowman.
You're not obligated, John.
I'm not obligated, but I'd like to echo Mr. Vita's sentiments. It certainly has been an honor and a pleasure. The 3 years that I've had the privilege of serving on the board has been an eye-opening experience to kind of learn the inner workings of a school district and kind of what it requires to actually be a successful school district and to run that. And hopefully the 2 new folks that are coming on will get up to speed very, very quickly. And again, you know, it's been a pleasure. I can't top Mr. Vita because he went first. But yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. With that, do I have a motion?
If we don't have a meeting, I want to wish everybody a healthy and happy holidays.
Thank you. We all
So we're not going to have a meeting, so happy holidays.
With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
My last motion.
Mr. Vita, second. Second, Mr. Bowman. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are closed. Happy holidays, everyone.